Now, are you live in the Facebook group yet?
Yep, it's connecting now. So Michelle, you'll be able to see it on your end in just a few minutes. It's setting up.
Okay.
Okay, we're getting connected here. It should be pulling up. Yep. All right, I'm going to go ahead and broadcast here. So we're going to get started shortly. I see attendees are coming in right now, and hello to the Facebook Live Hidden Heroes community page. We will get started here shortly with our C3 as we wait for some more attendees to join us today. Thank you all for being here. We'll just give it another minute here, and then we'll get started. Hey, great. All right. Well, I see more and more views coming up here that are joining us through Facebook Live. Wonderful. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Jasmine Alfonso. I'm the manager of City and Community Initiatives for the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. We are excited that you're able to join us for today's webinar series, the Caregiver Community Connection, C3, presented by the Elizabeth Foundation and powered by our partners at the Wounded Warrior Project. Our goal is to bring military and veteran and family caregivers engaging content on important topics to provide opportunities for peer connection and support. We're also very pleased to have the U.S. Department of Affairs join us as a partner for this series as well. Today's webinar, Strengthen Your Voice, will feature Michelle Schultz, Susan Hayward, and our very own Dole Caregiver Fellow, Carrie Fisher. Our speakers come to us from One-to-One Women Coaching Women, which is a pro bono life coaching organization specializing in serving women military caregivers and veterans and women emerging from challenges and circumstances. Before we get started, I wanted to mention to all the attendees that this is a recorded broadcast, and we'll always be open to suggestions on future topics, so feel free to send them along. We have a lot of information to cover today, but we'll be taking questions at the end of the webinar. Today's moderators are our very own Elizabeth Dole Foundation interns, Molly and Jenna. They'll be interacting with you in the chat box, so be sure to submit any questions you have on the Q&A box located in the bottom of your Zoom control panel. Molly and Jenna will be taking note of the questions to get them answered during the live Q&A portion. As an added bonus, we'll be selecting 4 winners during the episode. Today's winners will receive a $25 Amazon gift card and a Wounded Warrior Project journal. In addition, 2 lucky winners will win a coaching discovery session from One-to-One Women Coaching Women. So that will be a real treat for those 2 individuals. For those of us who are joining on Facebook Live through our Hidden Heroes Caregiver Community page, welcome. Please submit any questions that you have by commenting on the video. Also, we will have polls during today's episode, but the Facebook Live community can participate by commenting on the section of the video as well. A recording from today's webinar will be available and shared following today's session via email. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Michelle Schultz, Susan Hayward, and Carrie Fisher as they get started. Take it away, ladies.
Great. Thank you so much, Yasmin. This is such an exciting day for me as a Dole Fellow, and being able to bring together 2 really organizations that I'm so passionate about is just really, really exciting. So thank you for that time and for the platform. I learned about One-to-One when during my first year as Dole Fellow, which I believe was 2015, when I was Wisconsin representative, about 3 years after my husband's journey. And I learned about One-to-One through another Dole Fellow. So it's kind of interesting how it sort of comes full circle. At that point, I was completing my first year as a Dole Fellow. I had just been to Washington, D.C., and we were going through a lot of changes with our housing situation, and my kids were at that age where they were almost grown up, but not quite. A lot of people can relate to that. I had left my career position and just had a whole lot of pieces laying around me from my life. We were pretty connected with things like our Air Force Wounded Warrior team and a lot of recovery options. So I felt pretty connected with the caregiver community and that I was getting on the right path that way. But there were all these other pieces like my career and just the changes with our house and the kids going through what they were going through after years of deployment, now an injury, and so many things that were changing with the friends we had and the people in our lives. And just trying to figure out how to juggle all these leftover pieces of rubble from my former life and all the new tools coming in for my new life and trying to figure out how to deal with all that. I didn't seem to be getting the answers. So I was so blessed to meet up with One-to-One, be accepted into their 26-week coaching program, and met one of my great friends now, Susan Hayward, who is one of our speakers today. And it just was such a great experience for me to be able to pull the pieces together and rebuild a foundation that was going to put me on a really great path, and to know that I had the power to do that with just a few great coaching tools. And I met Michelle Stoltz through this process as a coach. At that point, she was already a coach with One-to-One, but also a beautiful fellow caregiver of a military veteran, and just such a wonderful heart for caregivers and for her passion with her coaching career. So I'm so excited, seriously, to bring both of these worlds together and just be able to introduce the caregivers in my life to this extremely great tool and this extremely great opportunity. So listen up, enjoy, and hang on for the ride. We're going to share a great coaching tool, one of my very favorite ones that I continue to use probably daily, and I'm really excited to bring that forward. So Susan, Michelle.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, thanks so much. This is going to be so exciting. I'm going to share a little bit more about my story at the end, but I'm so happy to be here amongst fellow caregivers. And like Carrie said, One-to-One found me at the perfect time in my life, and I'm hoping that this is your opportunity for that as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this great coaching tool.
And I'm Susan Hayward, and I was very lucky to have Carrie be one of my coachees, and it was a wonderful experience. It's not only a great experience for those receiving coaching, it's an incredibly great experience for those of us who are coaches. And both Carrie and Michelle went through our coaching program, and a year or so later, they've each come back to One-to-One. Carrie is on the board of directors, and Michelle is the military caregiver director for our leadership team. And I have the honor of working with them on an ongoing basis. So I love that. I have been with One-to-One since 2005 when I completed my own professional life coach training. And in the past 15 years, I've coached 33 women pro bono for One-to-One. And of those 33 women, 10 of them have been military caregivers. I've been on the board of directors many years, and for about the last 6 years, I was the board president. I love coaching, I love One-to-One, and I'm really delighted to be with you. Give you a little bit of history about One-to-One itself. It was founded by a professional life coach in 2004 when Susie Strauss completed her own life coach training. Her goal was to give away free coaching to women who could not otherwise afford a coach. So she and 2 other women coaches got together and designed this 26-week program of pro bono coaching. Now, 15 years later, we are stronger than ever as we continue to expand our life coaching program to our clients. And we also provide professional development opportunities for our coaches. Our 26-week pro bono life coaching focuses on women emerging from challenging circumstances, like I said, who could not otherwise afford coaching. And eligible women must be sober for at least a year, have stable housing, and have shown some indication of success in their lives, and be ready and willing to make the changes in their current circumstances that they want to change. 5 years ago, we expanded that coaching program to include women military caregivers. Our life coaching is transformative and far-reaching, rippling out from the women that we coach to her family, her community, our nation, and the world at large. We really are changing the world one woman at a time. So delighted to be here. Now, we have one new program that I want to introduce you to, and that's called Life by Design. And it's a series of workshops that introduce people to what life coaching is about. There are 4 sessions, 90 minutes each, for a group of 8 to 12 participants at the same time. We just finished training 24 coaches to be facilitators of this program. And we are hoping that some of the organizations that are here today with us will be interested in finding out more. And if you are, then you can contact Carrie Fisher, and her email will be on the chat box, and it will also be in the information you get at the end. If you want to know more information and find out how to sign up for this, it is a fee-based service. It's a nominal fee, but several coaching tools and strategies are presented. And by the time you finish it, you really have a great idea of what coaching is, and if you would be interested in applying for the free pro bono coaching program. That's all I have to say about one-to-one. I want to start by bringing us together so that we can look at one of our most powerful tools called the ladder of powerful speaking. So I'm going to invite you right now to just start paying attention to your breathing. Slow down your breathing. Breathe in slowly, breathe out slowly. And with each breath, breathe a little deeper. Now close your eyes and listen as I share a poem with you. Please accept our time together as a gift to yourself as we explore the ladder of powerful speaking. May there be peace within you today. May you trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that are born of faith in yourself and others. May you use the gifts you have received and pass on the love that has been given to you. May you be content with yourself just the way you are. Let this knowledge settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. It is there for each and every one of us. And the poet is unknown. So slowly open your eyes and come back into this space, hopefully relaxed and ready to receive this powerful coaching tool called the ladder of powerful speaking. In coaching, we pay a lot of attention to the words we use when we speak about our wants, desires, goals, even the problems that we want to solve. We listen to the words we use when we're speaking to others, and especially when we're speaking to ourselves with those internal dialogues that we have. Oftentimes, we find ourselves talking about doing something over and over and over, but we never seem to move into action. Or we may talk about all the have to do's and should do's and must do's in our life, and we become overwhelmed and we don't do anything. Or we may have really wanted to do something, or maybe somebody really wanted us to do something at some point, and we keep talking about it, but actually we really don't want to do it, or we're not ready to do it. So this tool can help you sort of figure out where you are. The ladder of powerful speaking helps you pay attention to the words you use to articulate more clearly the wants, desires, goals, and problems you want to resolve in a way that increases your ability to move into action. I would like to have the slide put up now on the ladder of powerful speaking, so everyone can see that. Will I see it?
Yes, Molly is putting that up right now.
Okay, perfect. There we go. So if you look at this handout, this slide, on the left-hand side is a ladder, and at the bottom is the victim mud, where we often get stuck. And there are 6 rungs that go up: obligation, where we often start with things, then possibility, preference, passion, planning, and promising. And then you'll see some arrows on the right-hand side, and each one of those contains the words that you find yourself using when you're on that rung of the ladder. And so sometimes you want to stay on that rung, and other times you want to move up a rung, or maybe you want to just let go of something altogether. In order to illustrate how this works, I'm going to use a goal that many of us are familiar with. I've been familiar with it too often in my life. And the goal is to lose weight. So if I use words that are on the bottom rung, when I talk about losing weight, then it's an obligation and I'm stuck there. And I hear myself saying things like, I have to exercise more. I really should watch the portion size of the foods I eat. I need to stop eating so many carbs. My doctor told me that I have to lose weight or I will get diabetes. When I talk to myself and others like this, there's a heaviness to it and a lack of freedom to do anything about it. So the more I use this language, I am unable to move forward with my goal to lose weight, and I stay stuck in the victim mode. When I recognize that's where I am, I look at the language on the ladder of possibility, and I can see a number of possibilities for losing weight. So I might start saying things like, I'll consider walking 3 days a week. I could lower the amount of carbs I eat. Maybe I will work with a nutritionist. I might check out a water aerobics class. Using language like this brings a freedom and energy that puts me in charge and gives me choices. I'm no longer the victim. Once you're on the possibility, it's important to not stay there for a long time, just talking about the possibilities. So then when you find yourself there, you look at what are the words that I might use on the preference rung to pull myself closer to moving into action. The preference rung would sound something like, I prefer to do water aerobics over walking. I want to have a meal plan that helps me lose weight. I prefer to use Nutrisystem over working with a nutritionist. When I start to identify my preferences, I start to feel a pull into action, doing something about them because I prefer to do them. So then I take my preferences and I want to hone it down to a few that are really the ones that I'm most passionate about. So I might say something like, I'm excited about doing water aerobics, or I can't wait to begin the Nutrisystem program. And when you're talking that way, your voice and your body language takes on this enthusiasm for the actions that you want to take. Then the important part is to create a plan. And when you're on that rung, I might be saying some things like, I plan to find out which clubs in my area offer water aerobics. I plan to begin a water aerobics class by September 1st. I plan to buy a swimming suit that I will feel comfortable in going to the water aerobics class. I plan to contact the local Nutrisystem office tomorrow. I plan to remove the excess carbs and sweets out of my kitchen so I will not be tempted. A plan gives momentum to my actions and moves me closer to reaching my goal. Now I want you to note that I just gave you multiple options, and there's no expectation that you move into action on all these. I'm just giving them so you have a lot of examples. At most, 1 or 2 of these I would move forward with as I move up to the promise, that I'm going to promise to do something. So on the 6th rung, I make an absolute commitment to my goal. And I promise to attend, like I could say, I promise to attend water aerobics 3 times per week. And I might say, I promise to eat only the foods on my Nutrisystem plan for 1 month. So those are the 2 goals then that I'm going to focus on. But by moving up the ladder, I've created different options along the way. And at different times in my life, I might pick different ones to follow through on and make a promise. The other thing that is important for you to know is that the goal isn't always to get up to a promise. The goal is to pay attention to where you are and how you're speaking, and then explore the possibility of moving up a rung. Or if that really doesn't feel right, you stay where you are, and then you look at it again and you say, I'm still here. Maybe I don't really want to do this. I'm going to put that goal aside for a while and open up some space for me to focus on what I really want to do. Okay, so you can use it in that way. Now, Carrie's really familiar with this, and I'm delighted that she continues to use it after all the coaching we did actually quite a few years ago now. And so I've asked Carrie to share. I have 3 examples that I would like to ask her to share, so you can have a better understanding of how she uses it in her life. The first one is, Carrie, would you share an obligation you have and then what you do with that obligation?
Sure. I am kind of the queen of obligation. It's one way that I found I overcommit myself to stay really busy was a way of allowing life to make choices for me instead of me having to make choices. And this is where this tool came in really handy for me. So before my husband's injury, I worked full time, really 60 hours a week at the career job I had. Was president of my Rotary Club at one point, did all kinds of community involvement. My kids were super busy and I volunteered for everything they did. And I look back now and don't know how I ever had a second free to even sleep. So becoming obligated, I know is a really, really kind of a weak point for me. I love to say yes, and sometimes to my detriment. And I know that there's a lot of people on here who kind of feel that same way sometimes. So one obligation I currently have is being treasurer for a nonprofit group in Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin my whole life, and we recently moved to Florida last fall. So in my head, I thought, well, that obligation will go away and I'll be looking for things to do when I get into my new state and my new community. Well, it turns out they didn't rush real fast into getting a new treasurer, and I'm still the treasurer of a nonprofit group in Wisconsin. And I love this group. The people on this committee, some of them I've known since high school, which is more than a couple decades ago. And I've grown up with them and I really do love it. But because I had it in my head that this would probably go away when I moved, I found myself saying things like, I have to be on this meeting. I have to go to this call. I really need to help them out because they don't have someone else to do it. And I should be happy about doing that because I like this meeting. So I'm obviously kind of in that obligation, that victim mud kind of feeling about it, even though I really love this group and I'm passionate about it. So I caught myself talking to myself that way. And I thought the way I talk to myself about that obviously carries through in what the people on that committee probably think about it. So I pulled out this ladder and talked myself through it to figure out what was really going on. So when I got to possibility, I'm thinking, well, maybe I could just do this for a short time to get them through till their next annual meeting or through the end of this year, but to put a time limit on it so I'm not talking about it as if it's an obligation. And then that made me it gave me more control to talk to the whole group and say, we really need to have a better solution then someday. Or when it works out, we'll have somebody else, because it's not just for me, it was for them. They need somebody who's in Wisconsin once COVID is over and they can meet in person, that they have somebody there who can meet with them. So by the time we walked this up the ladder, which they didn't know they were doing, but I was helping them with that, is just talking about being excited to get somebody new into the committee, being excited about some new accounting program and the new reporting that they'd have. And we came to an agreement that we would plan to have me continue until April when they have their annual meeting. And the promise is that by that time or sooner, they would have somebody else for me to train in for treasurer. And it changed my whole entire outlook about the committee meetings, about my role with them. And really we're back to really being a fun committee to be on instead of feeling kind of stuck there. So it was something where it was already a passion for mine, but it helped me get back to there.
Great. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Now I would like you to share a current goal that you're working on. And first, I want you just to state what it is, and then I'm going to ask you a couple questions about it.
Okay. So my current goal is to work out a new budget for my family now that we are on kind of a different playing field. And, we had a lot of changes, as every caregiver, I think, on this call probably has, where you're going through different disability ratings. And I had a very tight budget when we were in Wisconsin. And we're kind of in a different place now where I can quit focusing on managing money and start focusing on debt reduction and really being a little bit more proactive with our budget instead of just trying to keep up with things. But I'm kind of having a hard time getting excited about that.
So looking at the ladder of powerful speaking, what are some words that jump out to you that you're using when you talk about it or think about it?
Some of the words I'm saying is, I really need to make time. I really need to find time to sit down and do this. if I would just get this bill paid off, I wouldn't have it going every month. And if I concentrate on it, it would happen.
Mhm. So where is that on the ladder for you?
Right now, it's really obligation in my
Mhm.
mind. I
Mhm.
mean,
So
we're
what,
making
go ahead.
we're making things work, so it isn't a huge priority, I guess. It's not a crisis.
Mhm. So would you be willing to explore saying some things about your budget using words from the rung of possibility?
Yeah. So one thing I've been trying to rephrase is I could find time for myself. I'll consider setting aside 2 hours a week to work on this versus just waiting until I find time.
Mhm.
So I'm
Okay.
creating the possibility of freeing up time.
Mhm. Okay. And do you want to stay where you are on the ladder? Do you really want to move up? Or do you really want to defer it to another time?
I'm at a point where I want to move it up, at least where I have a good solid plan for
Mhm.
it. I may never get to being real excited about it, but I, I do know that we want to be in a position where we just have less financial obligation.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my preference is to reduce the obligations and just the time it takes to pay out those bills when you have them.
Okay. So one of the things I would suggest that every time you hear yourself either saying aloud or in your own mind, words that come from the obligation ladder, stop yourself and rephrase it and state it as a possibility.
Mhm.
And little by little, that will move you into some action. Okay.
Perfect.
Now, the last thing I want to ask you to share is share a goal that you feel stuck on, something you've been saying for a long time, you want to do, you want to do, you want to do, and you just haven't done it. So what's going on there?
So this one will sound familiar to you, Susan, because quite a few years ago, I wrote a children's book, actually with two of my children, about deployments and PTSD and dad coming home a little bit different. And it's a great book. I've used it with my grandkids. I've used it in coursework with elementary children. It's really a neat little book, but I'm feeling stuck about actually sending it to a publisher. I've even done the work of finding publishers. I know exactly who I would send it to, and I'm, for some reason, really stuck on taking that extra step.
So what do you hear yourself saying that keeps you stuck from making that connection, calling that publisher?
Literally every week, I really should get that query letter written. I
I should
really
have.
should get the sent in.
Mhm.
And it's just every single week. I pull it out and look at it. I have everything identified. And I think it's a matter of identifying where on that, what's kind of holding me back on that ladder, kind of like my first example.
Mhm. Mhm. And so if you were to speak about it as a possibility or a preference, sometimes we go up two rungs on a ladder, what might you start saying to yourself?
Um, for me, it would be, I may get rejected if I send this to a publisher, but maybe I'll take that risk so that I can get some feedback.
Mhm. Mhm.
And another possibility would be maybe I could send it to another caregiver who has written a book for her to edit,
Oh,
so
great
that I
idea.
don't have to take that full step to being sending it off to a publisher, because it's probably that fear of rejection
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
is truly holding me back on that. So to get past that, maybe the possibility is that I could send it to somebody else to look at and give feedback before I send it to a publisher.
Great, great. Well, thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
And we're almost ready for the break, but I would like to ask everybody who wants to, that's been listening, if you would write one of your current goals into the chat box. And then after you write it into the chat box, do sort of what I did with Carrie, look at the ladder, see what kinds of words you're using when you talk about that goal that you want to accomplish, and see if you might use some words one rung up on the ladder. So it's just fun for us to see what kind of goals you have, and then you can practice using the ladder on your own. If you have any questions, you can put those in the chat box and we'll get to them later. But I think that's all I have for this part, Yasmin.
Okay, great. I was just writing my goal in the chat box here. So as we get started here. So as Susan mentioned, submit your goals. As I was listening to you, Susan, I feel like when COVID-19 started and a lot of us were put into quarantine and the stay-at-home orders, I feel like a lot of us had too many goals. Like some of us felt really obligated to do a ton of different stuff. I know I did. I was like, I'm going to be a painter. I'm going to, run every single day. I'm going to do this on top of my still full-time working from home schedule. So I'm
Right.
sure others kind of think too, like, how do we, I'm going to set up the polls too. Just want to ask you this question. How do we pare down our goals to find the right one? Because I think that in this situation, there was like, I felt like 2 months where everybody was like, I'm baking, I'm going to learn how to be a cook. Like
Gardening, yeah.
everybody was gardening, like my husband's like building things outside. I was like, what is happening? So I love your thoughts on paring things down and finding the right goal as well that can help us with the ladder. Because Carrie, your goals were like bigger goals, and I'm over here thinking, oh no, maybe I'm thinking too small.
Well, we actually have another tool called the areas of life satisfaction, where you look at all the different areas of your life. So you have health, you have personal growth, you have career, you have all kinds of goals that are all kinds of areas of your life, and you want to keep a balance. And the balance isn't like static, but sometimes you have more goals in one area of your life, and then you have them at another time in your life, other areas rise to the top. And I think each person just has to figure out for themselves, when you explore that other coaching tool, where is my focus now? And then we look at for how long. Maybe you have a goal, but you want to defer it till 6 months from now because you have 3 other goals that need more urgent attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That definitely provides me with some clarity there. So we just launched a few polls here, and I know we're getting the results just so our Facebook Live community can participate too. Our first poll question here is, how often do you pay attention to the words you choose? Always, sometimes, rarely, never, or I don't know. And the next poll question here is going to be, in your daily life, do you react more from obligation or a place of preference or passion? So that's going to be out of obligation, or preference or passion is going to be your question there. And then your third poll question, are you aware that the words you choose for yourself and others can impact your actions? And so yes, no, I'm not sure. So those are the poll questions we have right now. And we are still pulling together the winners. We have a lot of interaction here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold off on that till we get to the Q&A, since we have a lot of people that are wanting this coaching session here. So we're gonna go ahead and give it a few more seconds there and let everybody fill out this poll questions. I know when I'm looking at these poll questions, I'm thinking, do I realize the words I choose? I can tell you I don't when I'm in an argument with my husband. Are we speaking honestly or what? Because that's true. Sometimes you just, I don't think I think about the impact or action in the moment, in the heat of the moment, sometimes things like that. So definitely
we get into the habit of saying the same thing over and over, and we actually don't hear ourselves saying it, and we don't even realize it, but we're stuck. So when you realize you're stuck, then you start paying attention to the words, which then can help you. That first step is awareness. So I'm aware that I'm keeping myself stuck by the words that I'm using.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's really helpful to know. Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead. Molly and Jenna have done their digging for who is gonna be our winners. So we're gonna go ahead and announce that here, and we'll contact you to get more information. For the coaching, oh wait, let me start with the Amazon gift card and the notebook. So we have Debbie Harper and Tony Woodman. So we'll be reaching out to you by either the Facebook community page if we found you on there, or the Zoom chat to get your information. And then a little drum roll here for the coaching session. and the Amazon gift card and the notebook. We're going to go with Angie Tooney, and we're going to go with Nancy Ray. So both of you will be reaching out to you as well. Michelle we'll be sending contact information over to you. So they'll reach out for the coaching session. And then your Amazon gift card is going to be sent via email. So we need your email for that. And the Wounded Warrior Project journal is going to be sent to your home. So we'll get your address from you privately and ship that out to you. So congratulations to all the winners. Jenna and Molly will be reaching out to you to get your information, and I'll let Susan go ahead and take it away here. Susan, are you seeing the poll results here?
I'm not. I'm only seeing the poll.
Oh, well, there's some great. I'm going to end here so that you can see it as well.
Okay. So just for those that got the coaching session, I just want to say that this is going to be a time, an hour with the coach from one-to-one, very experienced. I know Sandra really well. And she has coached military caregivers, and that has become her passion. And she has become best friends with Michelle. And they are always working on and doing things for military caregivers. And so you're going to work with her and explore how to translate your dreams and desires into practical, realistic, actionable life plans. And together you're going to take a step towards replacing some anxiety or overwhelm with enthusiasm, uncertainty with action, and boost your motivation to make major life transitions with greater confidence and ease. And Sandra's a queen at that. She's just very good at hearing you and really understanding you and guiding you forward in your life with your goals. So congratulations to those of you who got that. At this point, we're going to have Michelle give a testimony about her experience with one-to-one. So Michelle, take it away.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Sandra is absolutely amazing. You guys are such in good hands. So one-to-one found me back in 2015. I happened to be at a caregiver retreat and somebody said, "Hey, would you be interested in this coaching thing?" And at that point in my life, I had been on my caregiving journey for about 6 years and was just kind of getting to the place where I got my husband stable. But then I was learning that I needed to do something else for me. I had left my teaching career to be at home with him, and I do not do well with idle hands. So I needed something more. But I was really feeling stagnant at that time in my life, and this coaching opportunity could not have come at a more perfect time. So I signed up right away, and I was matched with an amazing coach with our organization and did the 26 weeks of pro bono coaching. And from that, I just learned so much about myself, especially about the words that I was using internally, and the things that I wanted to get done, but then not using that powerful language that we just spoke of. So learned how to shift that. But so much more than that, I decided that I wanted to pursue coaching myself just because I loved it so much. I was in a place where I needed to find something that I could do from home, so that I could be a caregiver and still be a provider as well. And that was my opportunity. So I signed up, did the coaching program through ILCT, decided to open my own practice. So I own Complete Coaching and Complete Life Coaching 365, where I do life and financial coaching. And I decided that I wanted to come back and give back to the organization that really set me on this path of greatness. Through the coaching process, not only did I grow, but I learned that my whole family was growing. We were all growing together, which was such an amazing gift because it wasn't just impacting me, it was impacting my husband and our son. And so it was just such a great experience on so many levels. And a gift. And that's what I say when I do the screening with individuals who apply for our organization, is that it really is such a gift. 26 weeks of coaching for no cost. It's amazing. So it's just, it really has changed my life. And I am so excited for those of you that are interested in coaching. And I definitely would encourage you to sign up, at least, put in an application. I will do the screening. We do, phone calls with all of our clients to ensure the readiness for the program. And you and I will talk, and it'll just be a conversation, and we'll see if coaching's the right fit for you. And hopefully, anyone who's interested, that is a woman. We do only coach women, or those that identify as a woman. But anyone who is interested in our program, we'll see if it's the right fit for you and get you into our coaching program. But it's definitely life-changing, and I would encourage anyone who's interested to sign up.
Thank you. Thank you. Carrie, did you have anything more you wanted to say?
Well, I just wanted to kind of pigtail a little bit on what Michelle said there on the effect on the whole family too. When my husband had his injury, most my kids were pretty much grown up. I didn't have little kids at home. My son had gone through 8 years of seeing his dad deployed. He was deployed 6 times within that 8 years, and many times for a year at a time. So by the time he was a sophomore in high school, he'd already missed out on a lot of his childhood with his dad. And then when he came home injured, he basically lost the last 2 years in high school that he would have had. So the skills that I learned through the coaching program were just paramount in helping him get through some of the little crises that weren't mental health crises, but really needed a little bit kind of more attention than just my mom knew. And it helped him a lot to make choices too, and to kind of get on his feet as an adult. And he had some significant issues to deal with later, but we were able to sort all of that out because of the skills that I learned in coaching to be able to communicate better with him and help him open up and help him analyze some of the stuff going on. And I just can't even imagine what a different person he would be at 24 now than he was at that 16-year-old mark, because it's just a drastic difference. So that ripple effect from it being able to calm me down, for me to be able to really sort through things and be proactive instead of reactive, to just really be able to work through things logically, has helped him in ways that I think would have been more mental health crises for him, but we were able to really deal with some of that stuff up front. So that ripple effect, imagine, it affects him, it affects his fiance, it affects her family and their relationship with him. And just to know that it has made that kind of a world of difference on a family is really, really special.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to hear that feedback, because we know that happens, but we don't always get to hear about it or see about it. And it's really special that the two of you have come back to the organization and are participating and can really, testify how it's been for you. In addition to what you've said about the ripple effect, I also want to point out that in coaching, often people come and they have like one issue that they want to deal with. So you start with that issue, but any tools you learn for that issue, without you knowing it, because you learned the tools and the strategies, it ripples out to the rest of your life. So all areas of your life improve. And the thing about coaching is it focuses first on you and only you as a person, not as a caregiver, not how to be a better caregiver, none of that. You have lots of resources for that, but this is just about you. And the basic question is always, what do you want? What do you really want? And once you can get clear about what you want, then we can figure out how to get it and how to work towards it. So that's the thing that I love about coaching. It's just so amazing. And so it's almost like an IEP for everybody, an individual educational plan or individual coaching plan. It's just, the tools work for just about everybody in any situation. So thank you for sharing that. We do have enough time. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about words. And this is what I call a word alert list. So as long as we're going to start paying attention to our words on the ladder of powerful speaking, I'd like you to just pay attention to the other words you use, because it can really help change and improve your communication skills. And they can just help you make good choices for yourself. And so there's these little things that I catch when I start working with clients, and I just keep reminding them, and we keep practicing. It's all about practicing. So the first thing that I usually catch with most people, and I still do it myself, but it's to replace the word but with and. So instead of saying to somebody, I really want to help you, but da 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 da. Well, when you say but, it almost feels like, well, they don't really want to help me. But if you say, I really want to help you and tell what else is going on in your life, it's received differently. And so that's a really good thing to do. Or you catch yourself saying, well, I'd really like to do that, but I can't because, and then instead you say, I'd really like to do that. And how am I going to do that? You figure it out. Another thing is to eliminate the absolutes. Don't say I never or I always. And we do that a lot. I never do this, I always do that. That keeps you stuck. You can say I seldom do that. That's moving up the ladder. I usually do this. I often do that. Okay. So that's another way to change those words. Saying want to instead of need to or have to. And you know that little word no? That's really an okay word. It's a complete sentence. It's a really complete sentence. And you don't have to explain or justify why. And that one's still even a hard one for me. Somebody might ask something and I'll go, no, because, and I'll try to explain all the reasons why. And every once in a while, I'll just say no. And it's almost like shock from the other person, like, what do you mean no? But really, no, I'm not going to do that. So sometimes it's good to practice saying no. And that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to add anything to it. Maybe doesn't mean yes. Maybe is just maybe. Maybe is I'll consider it. But sometimes when we say maybe, the other person hears it as yes. So you need to clarify that. Another thing that I had to learn was just because I can do something doesn't mean I have to. And I know over the years I've done so many things because, well, I can do it and nobody else volunteered, so I'll do it. And then I'm on overload. So now I take time to really make good decisions about what I want to do, not just what I can do. And I think another one is the idea of building in some accountability for yourself. Instead of saying, I intend to, no, instead of saying, I will try to. We have a tool called Discoveries and Intentions. And our intentions, we always say, I intend to, and then there's an action. And often people will say for their intention, I intend to try to. Well, if you intend to try, you're not intending to do the action, you're just intending to try. So if you say, I intend to, it builds in accountability for whatever action you want to take. So those are just a few tips on other words to pay attention to. Carrie or Michelle, do you have any you want to add?
I was just going to say that comment about no because is how I was just so overcommitted before my husband's injury, and just completely crazy overcommitted, because that is like saying yes. When you say no because I have this or this, it gives the other person power to come back with a reason why you can overcome that without them knowing everything. They don't know everything else going on in your life. So the minute you let somebody else start making those choices for you, then life, everything is urgent and everything's really important and everybody relies on you, and you have all the skills, so you should be giving it to them. And that's why they're coming to ask you that. So I would just start saying, no, not right now, instead of no because, and not give them a reason why no right now. It left it open if it was something I wanted later, but I didn't have to give my reasoning on it, and I didn't have to give them that chance to respond. And sometimes it's stuff I really wanted to do. I really, really did. But you really need to, that balance is so important to take your own personal control of.
Right, right. Thank you. Michelle?
I second the no as a complete sentence. No, period.
Okay.
It really makes a big difference just by saying no. And it's okay, and it's hard. And I always tell others that it is a hard thing to do, and to say no, because then you feel, if you are a server, like I love to serve people, sometimes I have to say no for self-preservation reasons, and it's okay. But it takes practice.
It does. It does. Well, that's all I have, Yasmin. So if there's questions or
Yeah,
whatever works
absolutely.
for
I
them.
wanted to read some of these goals that came in for you too,
Oh, great.
as well, if we, before we get into some of the questions here.
Mhm.
So sometimes I feel overwhelmed with the tyranny of the urgent. So that was one that came in. And then another one came in here about filing and organizing bills, how being a goal, like maybe taking an hour a week to file or organize. That was another goal that came in.
Mhm.
People are asking about the ladder of powerful speaking, if this will be sent to them. The answer is yes, it will.
Mhm.
Another goal that came in was, my goal is to get our budget in order and find an efficient way to track my husband's spending by opening separate accounts. This is a step I've been advised to take, but I really don't know if I want to. So another goal that came in here. And then we have to work on getting myself to a healthier weight. Got a little baby weight to address. So there's another goal that came in. And I'm seeing some more here as well. One question that came in for you, Susan, what are some reminders we can do for ourselves to help us pay attention to the words that we use?
Well, once you get a copy of the Ladder of Powerful Speaking, post it where you can print it off and post it where you can see it every day. And even print off several copies and post them around the house. And once you start being aware of it, you'll catch yourself more and more often. It's just practicing catching yourself and changing the words.
I did that. I had that hanging at my desk when I was still working my career job. I had that ladder of powerful speaking hanging up, and every time I would hear myself say a word that I really knew I did need to check, like the but in there, or the, well, maybe I can, and what I was really doing was committing, I would kind of write those down down in that but part, avoid these, and sort of move up toward the top with the ones that I really wanted to start replacing those words with. So I was physically writing it right on that ladder, powerful speaking. And I'm a real visual person, so making that connection between my head and seeing it printed and knowing I wrote it there was really, really helpful for me.
Yep. And that reminder allows you to practice, because it's so easy to like listen to what we've shared and go, oh, I get that, it makes sense. And then it's gone. But if you have a reminder that reminds you to practice paying attention to it, then you'll start seeing things change.
Absolutely. Okay, another question that came in here is, I've been called a people pleaser. Where does that fall on the ladder of powerful speaking?
Off the top of my head, I would say that if you're a people pleaser, you're kind of stuck in the victim mud. It may not be that you feel obligated to please people. That's why it ends up in the obligation, okay? So you have to look at the possibilities of, instead of pleasing the person, is it something you really want to do? Or what's another possibility? Or can you defer it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. Another question here that came in is, let's say I have this goal and I've been working for it on a while. So let's use that weight loss as an example. I can't seem to stay motivated. How can I best use this to help me reach that goal and finally stay motivated to complete it?
I think what you have to do is you have to make a few additions to the ladder. So if you're stuck in the obligation, or you're not making progress, then create some possibilities of something you'll do. Find some benchmarks toward the end of the goal, and have the possibility of reaching those benchmarks along the way. And each one is more something that you want, so it helps keep you going.
Oh, that's great advice, Susan. Thank you. Another question here. With the Life by Design program, are there other tools, skills available? Like, where do we find this information?
Okay, I can tell you a few of them, and you can find more of this information by contacting Carrie. But the other tools that come out are celebrations, discoveries and intentions, generating desires for all areas of your life, looking at the areas of life satisfaction, learning how to balance that, the ladder of powerful speaking, multiple action plans from the future backwards. That helps people get unstuck often, creating an action planning tree, using visualizations going out 20 years and seeing who you are and how you are and what you're doing 20 years from now and getting advice from that person. And a myriad of other little tools here and there, but those are the main big ones. It's a really, really robust program.
Wow, that's amazing. And how do I get free coaching? Or, you know, pro bono coaching? What is that? Can you explain a little bit about what that process is?
Michelle, would you answer that one?
Absolutely. So you can apply for our program at one-to-one-women.org through the coach tab at the top there. And the process is pretty straightforward. An application will come through and we'll do a conversation just as I was explaining before. And we'll determine together if coaching is the right fit for you. There is an admin fee, but the coaching itself is free and the admin fee is minimal. So $75. And so, yeah, you'll just apply with us. We'll get you in. There's no wait list right now. So you'll get right in within a couple of days of application, which is almost unheard of in the military community. And yeah, we'll get you, you know, if coaching is the right fit, we'll pair you with a coach that you'll have for the entire 26 weeks. And all of our coaching sessions are done virtually. And so some of our coaches meet via Skype or Zoom or just over the telephone. And it's one time per week for about an hour. So it's a very easy process.
Michelle, I think you said the coach tab. Did you mean the client tab?
I'm sorry. Yes, I did. The client tab. Thank you.
Yeah. If
And there's right on the home screen.
Yeah.
Right on the home screen, there's an option to apply. So
Yeah.
it's very easy to find.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So $75 administrative fee and you get all this coaching.
It's incredible. It's such a gift.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to put that information now. We're going to have Molly and Jenna go ahead and put that one-to-one coaching information. And Michelle, if you can add that in the chat box and for our Facebook community, I want to make sure everybody is aware, especially no wait list. A lot of you I know really wanted to win today's sessions, but you still have an opportunity here. So to be a part of this. So I just want to make sure that's clear. And I know we're getting close on time and a military veteran caregiver's time is very precious. So I want to make sure that we go ahead and close out here. First, let me just say thank you so much to Susan, Michelle, and Carrie, our Dole Caregiver Fellow. We are so happy that you guys were able to be here today and to share this information with us. I feel like I already learned a lot that I need coaching too.
Sign up.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it can help everybody in all of the ways that we speak to people. So I think this really resonated, especially in this unprecedented time that we're going through. I think this type of understanding of the words that we choose and how we choose to talk to other people and ourselves is really valuable. So I appreciate each one of you so much for being here and being a part of that. We also encourage everyone from today's webinar session to join our Facebook group called Hidden Heroes Caregiver Community Connection, Validation, Understanding, Support, and Resource Sharing. That's what HHCC is all about. So if you care for a wounded, ill, or injured service member or veteran, become a part of our community and find your tribe. Go to hiddenheroes.org/register. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email from us that will include a recording of today's webinar, a link to our Facebook group. We'll include the ladder that we spoke of today, and we'll include a lot of the links for one-to-one to provide to all of you. That will go out tomorrow, so expect an email from that. And before we wrap up, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. Your time is so valuable and we appreciate you spending this hour with us. And a big thanks to our partners at Wounded Warrior Project and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs for their support of the C3 series. We hope you found this session informative, inspirational. Stay in touch with us, our caregiver community, and always remember you are not alone. Have a wonderful day, and see on the screen here for our next episode with Sesame Street. This is going to be a really cool one. We encourage each of you to go to hiddenheroes.org/C3. This is going to be one that has caregiver offerings as well, but the last 20 minutes you get to bring your kids. So it's going to be really interactive, lots of activities with our children. So this is going to be our first one that they'll be able to be part of our C3 series. So tell your friends and follow us there at hiddenheroes.org/C3 and join the next episode. We'll see you guys then. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.